Hello and welcome to HealthAfrik on AAU TV. This program is brought to you by the Association of African Universities in collaboration with OKB Hope Foundation. I am your host, Isabella Tete Ahenakwa. So today we are diving into a topic that many of us can relate to, and that is overthinking. We want to know if it is part of the natural process of our thoughts or it can lead to unhealthy patterns. And joining us on this discussion is our very own clinical psychologist, Dr. Eric Nantie. He's going to help us unpack the line between overthinking as a means of self-reflections or whether it's a source of distress. So whether you find yourself thinking or paying critical attention to little details, or you just want to understand how to manage the thoughts that are racing in your mind, this episode is for you. We will go for a quick break. When we come back, we will start with the discussions. Please stay tuned. You're welcome back from the break. If you just joined, this is HealthAfrik on AAU TV. You can follow the discussions on our social media handles at Association of African Universities on Facebook and YouTube. Like I mentioned earlier, before the break, today we are going to discuss overthinking, and we are happy to have here with us Dr. Eric Nantie, a clinical psychologist. He's been with us on the first episode where we discussed mainly on mental health, and today we are continuing the discussion. Hello, Dr. Nantie.
Hi.
You're welcome back to HealthAfrik.
Thank you very much.
And I must say, you're looking very good.
So are you?
Thank you. Today we are talking about overthinking, and this actually came out from our first episode.
Yeah.
And normally, or these days, when we talk, when we say overthinking, it's kind of like problem solving, or somebody who is worrying too much or paying too critical attention to something. We want to know the difference. When we say overthinking, what actually is it?
All right, thank you very much. So overthinking is basically just ruminating over thoughts, usually thoughts you can't control.
Okay.
Right, so ruminating or delving too much into issues that are sometimes out of your control, sometimes within your control. And it's qualified. There's thinking and then there's overthinking. That's why it's being qualified.
Okay.
The over presupposes that is a little too much than necessary or than normal. So that's pretty much what it is.
Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned there's thinking and there is overthinking.
Yeah.
Actually, classified it all. So what are some of the symptoms? What would actually tell you that this person is an overthinker, or currently the person is overthinking? What are the signs that shows that stage?
Okay, let us start from where it comes from.
Okay.
Maybe that will give a better sense of what it is.
Yeah.
So it's usually a stress or anxiety response. So for example, if you're going somewhere, it's normal to think about what you wear. It's normal to think about how people perceive you based on what you're wearing. That's fine. But if you are thinking about people's perceptions or thinking about your outfit to the extent that it's causing you distress, and that's overthinking. So in psychology, most of what we consider as problems is if it's causing you distress.
Okay.
And so long as it's not causing you distress, or it's not deviant, or it's not dysfunctional, then it's fine. But when you engage in an act that one causes you distress, meaning that it makes you feel uneasy, you just realize that you are not yourself based on the kind of thoughts that you are having. So overthinking could be about exam results, could be about your future. You are brooding, and then it's constantly putting you in a state where it's like a cyclical state where you are not making any efforts to solve the problem. You are only just ruminating in your thoughts. That's what overthinking is.
Okay, so I just want us to identify. Maybe we are with people. We are surrounded by people, and we need to help each other. So I just want, maybe there'll be a sign. If I should see a colleague in that state, there should be a sign to indicate that this person is overthinking.
Yeah, usually, like I said, distress is the first thing.
Okay.
So the person can either verbally tell you that I'm thinking too much about XYZ.
Okay.
That's usually the first thing to know. You see somebody lost in thought. But then we can't just use lost in thought, because even when you're thinking normally, you could be lost in thought. So usually for overthinking, the person would have to tell you, or it will seep out in the person's speech. Right? When you realize that somebody has taken something, as we say, way too personal, right?
Yeah.
And the person has gone beyond what everybody would normally expect. So, for example, food comes and it's bad, or the salad is bad or something. Everybody complains and we are gone.
Yeah.
Then one person begins to start talking about it too much, start talking about, oh, what if the food is poisoned? I mean, everybody's like, you are going a bit too far with this. That's pretty much what overthinking looks like.
Yeah.
And the warning sign here is that nobody wakes up and then just starts overthinking. It starts from the process of thinking itself.
Okay.
So you should know when to stop thinking, or when to put a break on your thinking or your thoughts pattern. Otherwise, it just cascades into something else.
Okay. Now, before you tell us when to stop or when to, I mean, it's okay, enough is enough. Currently, when we say overthinking, it's very common, and people like to identify themselves as that because they think it is part of them. It's their personal trait, or yes, it is what they are, and they should accept. Everybody should accept it. Is overthinking normal?
To a large extent,
It's normal.
everybody would overthink at some point, but then when it becomes chronic, then it's not.
Okay.
So when it comes to stress and anxiety, in fact, overthinking is a component of these two psychological disorders, right? So more so anxiety than stress, because you're usually ruminating about the future, things to happen, something that would happen, which is usually what anxiety is. When you're stuck in a loop of future events that's usually out of your control, or when you're stressing over something, being too worried about, again, leaning more towards anxiety.
Okay, now let's look at the negative impact of overthinking in our lives, in our relationship, and also in decision making. Like the example you gave, a food salad, maybe we all know it is bad. That doesn't mean it is spoiled. Maybe the person added something, an ingredient to it, and then maybe the one person who is an overthinker decides to even maybe I'll take a shot of it and say that I went to this restaurant, and you know, that decision making. So how does overthinking actually negatively impact our decisions making, as well as our relationships and even our daily lives?
I like to think that overthinking is a burden that nobody should want to have. So when somebody says that, oh, I'm an overthinker, I think you probably are not overthinking as much as you think you are, because it's very burdensome. Now, overthinking can ruin your relationships, it can ruin your friendships, it can ruin your family interactions. Let's take, for example, you are married or you're in a relationship. Your spouse hasn't come home at the usual time that he or she is supposed to come. And then, like I said, it starts the thinking process. Oh, Mandem is not back home yet. Okay. Or wifey is not back home yet. Okay. And then the next thing you're thinking, where could she be? Again, thoughts progressing. Maybe she's with somebody. Maybe she's the work husband. And then you start thinking, what if she's doing this? What if he's doing this? And then your mind just keeps rolling on and on and on and on. And then your partner comes home. Of course, because you are thinking about possible scenarios, now your mood towards him or her has changed. And then that alone starts a small tiff. And then the situation repeats itself again. And then the same process goes on and on. And because it's so cyclical, it doesn't stop. So if you don't know when to put a pause to it, you just end up, and usually overthinking is, your mind tells you that, oh, I'm trying to think through this so I can solve a problem, or I'm having some anxiety related feeling about a certain situation. So let me overthink and see if I can come to a solution. That's the thing about overthinking. A solution never comes out of it. You're always stuck in a loop, and then because of the fact that you're stuck in a loop, you create more scenarios that might not be true. And then your brain sometimes the brain finds it difficult to differentiate between things that you are thinking about and then things that actually happened. That's why somebody can tell you a story and then you go and recount that story somewhere, telling it as if it were your own. That's because your mind has clipped the two and then you think it's actually your story. Meanwhile, it's somebody that told it. It might be later that you realize that maybe somebody else may have told me the story and it's not something that I experienced myself. Same for overthinking. When you have certain thoughts in your head, create certain real or fake scenarios in your head, there could be a point where your brain picks some up and then it's like, oh, this thing actually happened. And now if you think your spouse is cheating, it's a seed that has been planted. And then anytime he or she comes home late, your mind goes there. Anytime you perceive that he or she has made a slight turn on the phone when you're around, you think, oh, your mind is telling you that, oh, you're smart, you're clocking things, but it's just the likelihood that you are the one creating fake scenarios in your head.
Okay.
However, there are times when what you are thinking is actually happening.
Yes, I was about to come back with that.
What you are thinking is actually happening, and then in such a case, if you know that you are with an overthinker, right, you would have to create an avenue for the person not to be in that state, because, like I said, it's a very burdensome situation to be in. Right. So if you think that your spouse is one, especially somebody who has been cheated on in the past, nobody wants to experience that again. So they'll start clocking things very, very quickly. So, oh, where are you? Just, if you're on Snapchat or whatever, just take a snap. This is where I am. Just to alleviate the person's burden and reduce the possible iterations of thoughts that the person could have.
Exactly. So this is the second time you are. I'm happy you differentiate. I mean, you give us the positive and sometimes the reality, how maybe whatever you are thinking may be what actually is happening. But you again mentioned you should know when to stop. So at what point should an overthinker who is currently in that state, thinking about something, paying too much attention to something, when should the person stop?
So usually thoughts are either random or goal-oriented. Now, the thing about overthinking is, like I said, it makes you seem as if you are being goal-oriented, try to solve a problem. So when you start thinking about something and then you are not taking actionable steps towards it, you should probably stop thinking at that point and then turn your thoughts to something else. Because if you're not taking steps to that, then that is where you start creating the various scenarios. When you start creating all these scenarios, you cannot start attending to the scenarios one after the other, because then that's just a whole murky situation. So as soon as you realize that I'm thinking too much about a certain problem and I'm not taking steps to handle that problem, you should probably start switching up.
Okay. Right. So, you know, these days we do hear of overthinking. Initially, I mean, it wasn't a word that we used to hear of. And mostly you hear this from the youth saying, I'm an overthinker, or I've been in relationship with an overthinker, or you should accept me. What do you think is influencing, especially the youth? Like it being so common among the youth, what do you think? Is it social media? Is it maybe family issues? Is it relationship? What do you think is causing this high rate of overthinking among the youth?
I think it's a bit of everything. And the main fact is that overthinking, like I said, is an anxiety response. That's what people don't understand. It looks like one of those cool terms like OCD or I have this, I have that. One of those things people think is a cool term, but it's actually a psychological response to a situation. So, for example, I've given an example in relationships. It could be in school, your exams. Usually for youths, I mean, you're expecting that what they will be thinking most about is relationships and then their friends, those kind of social interactions. So somebody says, oh, I'm an overthinker. I guess it also depends on what you're thinking about. Right, because overthinking could be in line with certain disorders. So what exactly is the person ruminating over or about? Right, so we need to kind of focus on the kind of thing the person is overthinking about before we can actually start making blanket statements.
Okay, so in your submissions, you like mentioning the positive and then the negative impact of overthinking. You made mention sometimes it's just to bring out solutions to a problem. So maybe someone who is an overthinker wants to stop, but hearing this, maybe he or she would like to not overthink a lot, maybe once a while, think a lot about something. So when can someone overthink and when can someone not even try at all? I mean, just slightly think about it and then let it pass.
Okay. There's something I say to every client that comes to me, no matter like the condition that you come with. And I say you should learn to know things within your control, then things that are not within your control. I think that's the basic fact about thought processing. If you realize that this thing I'm thinking about, so let's go back to, I'm going to use relationships a lot because when people are saying they're overthinking, that's mostly what, I mean, apart from money. Money is like a standard for everybody, so I'm not going to mention that. But relationships, let's assume that you think your partner is maybe cheating on you. What can you do about that? the thinking you are thinking is not going to stop the person from cheating if the person actually is.
Okay.
Right. So it depends on the goal of your overthinking.
Okay.
Are you overthinking how to catch the person? Are you overthinking whether to end the relationship? That's why I said it depends on what exactly the person is thinking about.
Maybe I am overthinking to confirm whether what I am thinking about, that is it.
Yes. It depends on the kind of pain you are looking for.
Okay.
I once heard
no one will be looking for a pain. I mean,
if you go down that route, you're most likely going to find pain.
okay.
I once heard two guys talking, and then one was talking to his friend. He's like, "Oh, his girl looked through his phone, and now she's seen their feelings and stuff." And he's like, "But why would you go and look through a man's phone?"
Okay. Okay.
Because of course you might see something that you don't want to see. That's why again I said it depends on what you're looking for. But yes, sometimes you need to confirm things just so we take the appropriate steps, because nobody wants to be in a relationships and then they're being too timed and stuff. Yeah, so if you go along that route, sometimes it's okay to think. But I don't think overthinking ever solves any problem. So if the person is actually cheating, then what? You can be bold enough to go up to the person and then confront the person. This is what I'm feeling. Is this what's going on? Of course, majority of the people lie to you. Let's just get that straight. Not many people are oriented towards the truth like that. So don't think going to ask somebody such a question and the person will be like, "Oh yes, I'm actually cheating on you." No. But then, like I said earlier, that if you're in a relationship with somebody who's an overthinker, you have to present the person with certain basic information and then evidence to quell their thoughts.
Okay. Okay.
It's incumbent on you, the partner, because you know who your partner is. It's incumbent on you to do that. And then also you, the person yourself. People cannot answer to your every whim and caprice because you're an overthinker. So we should be sending you pictures every day. You also need to learn how to realize that whatever somebody else is doing, you can't control someone else's actions.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only actions you can control are yours.
Yes, yeah.
So once you start thinking along those lines, you wouldn't stop overthinking just in a day, especially if it's a habit you formed over time. Habit formation takes a while, and it's very difficult to break habits. That's why people get into addictions and then they relapse all the time, because it's very difficult. So once you realize that, oh, overthinking is a habit, how do I break this habit? It's very, very incremental, right? So you start by realizing, like I said, this is in my control, this is not in my control. It can be very, very difficult in the beginning, especially when your mind is telling you that, nah, XYZ is happening. But just that gradual incremental process, being kind to yourself, being more mindful about situations, that could help you.
Okay, so I think we'll pause here and then go for a break. When we come back, we'll look at the differences between overthinking and what other people associate with, and also how we can control overthinking. All right, so we'll go for a quick break to watch a short video on a skit on overthinking. Please stay tuned.
Okay, focus. Just solve this equation. But what if I fail math? If I fail math, my grades will drop. If my grades drop, I won't get into a good university. No university means no job. No job means I'll be living with mom forever. What about Esther? She's more than me today. That has to mean something, right? Or maybe she's just friendly. But what if she does like me? Should I ask her out? But wait, what if we start dating? And then we fight? And then we break up? And then have to see her every day at school? And it's awkward. And I need to stop overthinking. But what if I can't stop overthinking? Oh no. Now I'm overthinking about overthinking. Maybe I just need a rest. But what if I sleep too long and don't study, and then I fail? And oh,
I'm here with the Association of African Universities Television, AAU TV. I just want to say that without the media, you won't know what's going on in the world. Even with the media, you sometimes don't know what's going on in the world. So you need to tune in to the reliable sources who are really on the front lines, who can give you the information you need and give you facts, not conjecture, give you real news, not fake news. And this is the place to find it, AAU TV.
The voice of higher education in Africa.
You welcome back from the break. This is HealthAfrik on AAU TV, and today we are discussing overthinking. We want to know, we want to know if it is part of the natural process of our thoughts or it is pain that we are seeking for. And we are doing this with a clinical psychologist, Dr. Eric Nantier. Hello, Doc.
Hi.
Thank you for staying with us. So before we went for break, you were letting us know the differences between overthinking as well as thinking. The difference between thinking and overthinking, as well as some of the factors that are influencing it. You know, some people also see being detailed oriented as overthinking. So if you can maybe classify the differences, yes, let us know the differences between detail-oriented as well as overthinking.
Okay, so the differences is in the name, right? Mm-hmm. So like we've already discussed, overthinking is ruminating about thoughts and then being in a cyclical loop where you cannot really do anything about it. And detail-oriented is more targeted. Overthinking is usually not targeted because, like I said, it cascades. Yeah. So it's like pinging off frequencies. It bounces from here to here to here to here. But being detail-oriented is more targeted or goal-oriented, detail-oriented. Mm-hmm. So you have a goal to reach. Even if you are thinking about how to reach that goal, mm-hmm. there's an end result, there's an end game. Mm-hmm. Overthinking doesn't have an end game. So overthinking is just to solve a problem that we don't even know what the problem is in the first place or how to handle it. So you're just going round and round on ideas. Mm-hmm. But for being detail-oriented, there's a specific target. And I mean, that's usually what a lot of people do. When there's a target to hit, we have a direction, so we can easily solve that. And it doesn't come with any distress.
Okay. And also, when we were talking about some of the things that influence overthinking among the youth, we discussed social media. And you know, these days, social media, like, we are going digital. It's part of us. We can't stop. So at what point or how can we, the youth, set a boundary so that we won't be highly influenced by social media to overthink?
Yeah. I think this question is more individualized. Everybody and how they handle information from social media. Mm. I'll use myself as an example. I have Snapchat, I have X, I have Facebook, everything. And I choose the content I consume.
Exactly.
So my Instagram is only for books because I read a lot.
Okay.
So I post my books there, and then I do like book reviews on my IG. Mm. And then Twitter is only for football. So you don't see anything entertainment on my Twitter, unless maybe I go to Ghana, like that part, and then I see stuff over there. Go to Snap, I know who I'm talking to on Snap. So you need to create your content. There are some people who just go to social media and then they scroll and then they consume everything. You are in Ghana, you are probably reading, I'm speaking more to the youth this time.
Okay.
You're probably reading a social science program. Social science programs, unfortunately for you, does not fetch a lot of money in Ghana. And then you are watching things about somebody who is very well endowed and then giving money to his partner or whatever. And then you think you can manifest that exact same thing. Sometimes people need to be more realistic. I think that's probably the basic fact. People need to be more realistic in their expectations. You need to know the kind of program you are doing and then the kind of possible outcomes for you. Look at the average range of every profession that you are in and then rate your future according to that average. Let's assume you want to be Because there's no guarantee that everybody will be successful. Some of us will be average, some of us will be very successful, some of us will be just successful, some of us will not make it in life.
Yeah.
Let's hope we are not part of those who don't make it in life. But if you take the average pay of whichever profession you are in, you can just add a little to it and then see how your future will look like.
Okay.
That's a reality for everybody.
Okay.
So you probably need to start with that reality, no matter what you are watching. Don't get carried away, because when you get carried away, that is when you put wrong expectations on people. So you are in university, your father gives you money, your boyfriend's father gives him money, but he's supposed to take care of you somehow. He's supposed to buy some sort of
Gift, presents.
for you. How much is he giving? Right? So you are thinking too much about, oh, this boy is not doing enough for me. But maybe you're in a different hostel. He picks car to come and see you. Don't you think he pays for his bowls, or you think it's for free? Like all those things you are thinking about, oh, he's not doing enough for me, he's not doing enough for me, I need somebody else. One, you're just sort of worrying yourself. If you get somebody else who can do that for you, that's fine. But there are so many things that people worry themselves about that I think if they accept reality for what it is, they are not going to be thinking too much about certain things.
Okay. So I'm still on the social media and accepting the reality. So, you know, we do not know it all, and still on social media, maybe like the first example you give, my husband is not coming early, and then, or maybe something else there, and I go on social media to search what causes this, what causes that, and then social media is giving me like information. Your husband is maybe cheating, your husband may be doing this, you know, all these are giving me like, it's fueling the overthinking. So how can I control? Because I said, and these days, you know, when you search for one thing, I bet
so many things
you'll be
come
getting
up.
a lot of like related stories based on the things. So how can we need help, you know? It's really
So it's a real battle between your mind and then all the plethora of information out there. The same way I give examples about curating your content on social media, that is the same way you should know how to pick information. So for example, again, back to partners. Your partner is not coming back on time, he or she seems to be acting funny. What's the person's track record? What's the person's history? Based on that, you can choose to start thinking about certain things, right? And again, if you realize that there's nothing you can do about the situation, sometimes it's best to let things go. People should really learn how to let things go, because overthinking doesn't change, it doesn't solve any problem. It only worsens your future prospects. It only worsens things for you. Because now you have so many scenarios and you don't even know which one is right. You don't even know if all is right. Right? So sometimes just letting things be. I like to say, que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. Sometimes when you just leave things to fate, leave things to chance, so long as leaving it to chance doesn't hurt you. When I say hurt you, I mean if it doesn't have any negative consequences on you, apart from the normal pain you get if it happens to be true, yes. But if it's something that you can let go, you should probably try to let go. Letting go is so much helpful that people, if you learn how to let go of things, your stresses in life will reduce more than 50%. Because most of the things we stress about, what are we really stressing and thinking about? If job, I'm not thinking about job. I'm not thinking about my partner cheating on me. I'm not thinking about money. What's there? I'm just chilling. But because we are thinking about all these things, people's opinions about us, that's what's usually, most of the mental health issues are socially engineered. Because it's a lot of societal activities, a lot of influences from ABC. The thing you said about reading, it happens a lot to people with illness, anxiety. So you go and search, oh, I have a headache. And then Google tells you, in 6 days' time, you are gone. Right? Because there's so much information. Oh, I have this sore on my leg. Oh, it's a diabetic sore. It's a this, it's a this. Meanwhile, you may have just stepped on something that you don't even remember what it was. But because you've read so many information, you don't know which ones to pick. And not every information is right information. So you should know where you get your information from. If it's a health challenge that you're overthinking about, there are health professionals that you can go to. That's why a lot of doctors hate it when patients come and then they seem to have gone to Google things. It's like,
Yeah.
if you can treat yourself, why did you come? Right?
Okay.
Because so many reasons could account for whatever it is you're experiencing. If you choose to think about all these reasons, you're just going to worsen your situation or put yourself in a state of distress.
Okay.
So sometimes just let go or go speak to the right people who can be of help to you.
Okay, so we just watched a short skit on the time on overthinking, and it actually confirms what you said, that it's not targeted on one thing. I mean, you are thinking about something, then something else pops out, another thing pops up, another thing pops. And from your submissions, it shows, or it tells that we can actually control it. So how can we control overthinking? I know you've mentioned some letting things go and not taking some of the things you read on social media as it is, and also looking at the reality. But aside these, maybe you can advise on us on how we can control overthinking.
Okay, sometimes it's very good to know where overthinking comes from. That is, if you know the cause of the problem, that is when you can treat it. Or else you just be treating symptoms, right? So treat the cause. Most of the time, overthinking is because somebody has hurt in the past, and you're trying to make sure that hurt doesn't happen again in the future. It doesn't have to be just relationship. It could be hurt in any form, whether it is your parents not taking good care of you, and that caused some sort of hurt. And so now anybody you meet, you're thinking for the person, how is this person going to treat me? Right. So knowing where it's coming from can easily help you to cure it.
Okay.
Now, you should understand that not everybody is who you've met before. Maybe let me break it down this time. Coming to relationships. You have been hurt badly by somebody. Not every man is bad. Not every woman is bad. Many men are bad. Many women are bad. But not everybody is bad. So you need to understand that, I don't need to project my insecurities on people. Sometimes what you are overthinking about is because you are seeing certain patterns that you saw in somebody else. And you are like, this thing I've seen this before, so I'm not going here. It's okay to talk to the person about it. That's why maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. It's also good to know who you've picked. If you pick somebody who is just as broken as you, two broken people cannot heal each other. So in that case, you would overthink for the rest of your life, because that person is not in a state to even understand your emotional needs. So you always be thinking, the person doesn't even know that I have to do X, Y, Z to make sure that you're okay. So probably just comes from there. But if you've already made a mistake and you're with somebody who is also just as broken as you, then both of you, if possible, should probably go and seek professional help. Because overthinking, when it's too much, becomes a problem. Like I said earlier, it feeds into anxiety. In fact, it's an anxiety response, and this is what everybody should know. Overthinking is usually an anxiety response. It's not a flex.
Okay. So you've given an example and also some steps to control in relationship. Now let's look at school and also at the workplace. What are some of the practical ways we can stop or control overthinking?
Yes. So let's take school, for example. Now, depending on the level, let's say you're in uni and then your grades are not going well. Probably if you start studying a bit harder, your grades might get a little better. And it comes back to when I said about accepting reality. Some people are very smart, some people are very dull, some people are very average. You should know where you fall. If you are an average person, I don't see why you should be having sleepless nights over getting a first class. You've seen your results in SHS. You won't get a first class. You probably get second, upper, or lower. And it's fine. I mean, people get that, and it is no definite marker for success, especially in the way things are going now. I saw a certain post, I think it was in the US, and then Elon Musk was calling for, I think, coders or something to submit some stuff. And it doesn't matter the school you went to, just so long as you can do the job. Right now, we are getting into a world where it's not really,
theory.
Everywhere you pass, a school is being opened somewhere. Right? People are getting accreditations here and there. So once you realize your own worth, something that you're capable of, that too can help you to stop overthinking. Because if we've been brought up in a way that we think that, there's a linear path to success. There's no linear path to success. I was listening to the guy who is currently Captain America. I've forgotten his name. He always seems like he has a cheeky smile, the black guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking about success in the movie industry, and that they say, oh, pay your dues, do X, Y, Z, and then you'll be successful. But that's not really the case. Sometimes somebody has to hold your hand to link you to ABC. So I think when we have a very holistic view of viewing the world, but if your mindset is parochial, like you are seeing things from only one lens, then anxiety builds up, then you start thinking about things. But when you feel like your options are many, it's like, again, I have to use relationships. If you realize that maybe your partner is maltreating you, but there are a lot of other people out there who also want you and they might treat you right, you might not be so bothered about leaving that one person. But if you think that one person is a whole world, then you think, oh, that's where separation anxiety comes in. You start overthinking, if I leave this person, will I get somebody else to love me, blah, blah, blah.
That's very true. Now let's look at the long-term impact of, you made mention overthinking leads to distress and it's also part of anxiety. Now we would want to know or link it to mental health if there is a long-term impact in terms of overthinking.
Yes. So one mental health disorder that I think you should pray not to have is to be somebody who is classified as anxious or somebody who has anxiety. I've already mentioned that overthinking is linked to that as well as other mental health disorders, but it's mostly too much of overthinking can lead you into that because, again, you're ruminating about things that you think would happen, and then it becomes a pattern, and it really affects your day-to-day activities because, like many things in life or many habit formation, this is gradual, it's incremental. So you start overthinking small, and then now something that you could have done easily at first, you can no longer do it. And it comes something, it's as basic as even putting on clothes to go to work. Maybe at first you think twice about, oh, should I wear this or should I wear that? But then when you start developing that kind of habit, instead of the 5 minutes it takes you to decide, taking 20 minutes to decide. Now imagine taking 20 minutes to decide what to wear. How about the more important things in your life? How many minutes would it take you to decide on those ones? If you use 1 hour to pick out your clothes, how many hours will you use to pick out your partner? Right? So we don't really see it in this way, but every little choice that we make, there's a consequence of the action. Same goes for overthinking. When you start making it a habit and then you are thinking too much about the lesser things and it's affecting your life, it's going to affect the bigger things in your life. And then it's going to cause multiple problems for you. So not just one specific mental health issue, but just a general feeling of distress and your life not going well because you are thinking too much about something that you could just let go.
Okay, thank you very much for this explanation and insight. Now, before we wrap up, what would be your words of encouragement and also advice to young people who are going through this health, I'll say yes, this health issue, and also when can they or should they seek for professional help? Okay,
the first thing I'll say is that I think I've said it already. Overthinking is not a flex term. I get so irritated when people say that they are overthinkers because I mean I've met people who will come and sit in front of you and they are crying because they are thinking too much and it's really distressing them. So when you see people like that and then you come and see someone flexing about overthinking, I think you're not really understanding the pain that comes with having to think too much about the slightest of issues, right? And also people should learn to be more mindful and be more gentle with themselves. Realize that if you are overthinking because of a relationship, because of work, life happens. Life happens to people. Sometimes it's your turn to just taste the salty part of life. Yeah. You just take it. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, right? So overthinking, once it doesn't solve any problem, you try to replace negative thoughts with more positive thoughts. Yeah. And always remember, once something is out of your control, let it be. Whatever will be, will be.
Okay. And then when should we seek for the professional help?
When you realize that it's getting a bit too much. I think sometimes, when you start telling people that I think I'm an overthinker, and when you realize that it's impacting other aspects of your life, and it's impacting your work, your relationships, school, if it's impacting significant aspects of your life, it's time to seek professional help.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, Dr. Nantie, and
You're welcome.
we hope to engage you again on another topic related to mental health. And that is all for today's episode on overthinking. And this is a word of encouragement to everyone. It is not a flex word, as Doc said. And also, you should have a holistic mind of everything in the world. And always think about the positive side. I mean, enough of looking for pain. Yeah. My name is Isabella Teta Hinako, and hope to see you again in our next episode. Have a nice day.